Today is Giving Tuesday, National Giving Tuesday.
Yes.
And nonprofits throughout the country, but specifically here in Riverside County, are joining together to encourage you to learn about what it is that we're doing for those that we're serving and come alongside and partner with us in doing that work, because we just simply can't get it done without the partners like yourselves, our volunteers, our funders. And so we thank you for even having interest in joining us. The fact that you're watching this right now means that you care, and so that's important to us, and we thank you for that. My name is Damien O'Farrell. I'm CEO of Path of Life Ministries, and sitting next to me is the lovely Melina Boswell, one of our board members for Path of Life Ministries. And I thought it would just be much more fun for you to have Melina, and much more fun for me, honestly, also, to have Melina join me and do a little bit of an interview and have us talk back and forth rather than just it being me a talking head. So, but before we get started, it's not only Giving Tuesday, but we're doing this open house campaign today. So we're actually here at Path of Life Ministries headquarters giving an open house of our new office building and knocking down picture frames at our new office building to introduce people to not only our new office, but all the programs that we run out of this office and scattered site throughout the county. But it doesn't end today.
Right.
This actually goes on throughout the rest of the year, because this campaign runs through the end of the year, because it's our end of the year giving campaign. Where people can make their year-end contributions, get those tax write-offs, and put their money to really good use to helping people. So if you're not able to contribute today, though you can, we do have a matching grant out there of $5,000, so we definitely want to capture that.
So tell us more about what is that, the matching grant? What does that mean exactly?
So the matching grant is, we have a number of different supporters of ours that have stepped forward and said, we will give you this amount of money. And so in this case, Brian and Vicki Hawley have given $2,500.
Nice.
Rich and Josephine Erickson have given $1,000.
Awesome.
And then we've gotten an additional $1,500 from anonymous donors that have got us to the number of $5,000.
Right.
And if we raise $5,000 today from people's donations, they will match each one of those dollars with their dollar donation. So $5,000 turns into $10,000.
That's huge. So if somebody gives a $50 donation, it really means a $100 donation.
That's exactly
so
right.
That's how you guys need to be thinking about it. So even if you give $10, it's $20.
That's exactly
Whatever
right.
you can give makes a big difference. We really appreciate the donation and the match. That's exciting.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. This reminds me of the time that we did a podcast for the Wealth Advisors.
Yes.
And people can they go listen to that podcast?
Yes, they can listen. I don't know if the podcast is live yet, actually. It's probably not live yet. I don't know when it's going live. I'll find out. I'll make sure I announce it, though.
Okay.
But that is a great podcast that we interview Damien and talk about our collaboration together and all the great work that Path of Life does.
Well, thank you. And so Melina, in addition to being an incredible board member, her and her husband, Dave, and their organization, New Wealth Advisors, are great partners with Path of Life, and have done everything from helping us find housing for individuals that need it, families and individuals that were moving directly off the street or out from under a bridge or from literally living in a ditch, for some as much as 31 years.
31 years.
From 15 to 31 years, people have been living outdoors without an address and without really a sense of hope, and we've been able to help move over 190 people from those situations into housing of their own. And New Wealth Advisors have helped us find that housing, provided that housing as being landlords from people's housing stocks, and then also helped furnish their homes because you provided a warehouse for us.
Yep.
So I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I want to interview you for a second and say, can you tell me about this warehouse that you guys have for household materials for those that we've had?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started with, we had some extra room in the back of our office, this warehouse that had some extra space. And over time, I learned that there was people who wanted to donate items. And really, here's what I find. When you just share the need with people, you let them know, hey, we have families, making the transition from living in their car, the river bottom, and the shelter, and now they're into a home with absolutely nothing. You realize that they need everything. They need bowls and spoons and couches and pots and pans and everything. And so in addition to furniture, refrigerators, things like that. So we just started housing, using our warehouse space to park those things. And well, over the last year, it turned into much more than we anticipated. So I don't know, a couple of months ago, we built an entire mezzanine, a second story inside of our warehouse to double the space for Path of Life. So we now have rows of groceries and all the toiletry items that are needed. Those seem to be the most difficult to find. So the New Wealth Advisors Club is an amazing group of people. They all I have to do is put out the need, and they just show up. And I have just amazing people. So there's pretty much anything anybody could ever need. They can show up at the office anytime. We let people just come in and grab a bag and shop and buy or take whatever it is that they need. It's not really buying, it's just giving it away. So it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. And so when you make a donation of a furniture item, food, toiletries, et cetera, and if we're not using those directly into those, putting those directly into the hands of those in our shelters when needed, those items go into a storage facility, and then when a family or an individual gets moved into a house of their own, an apartment of their own, then often they don't have anything to make that house a home. Yep. And we provide that from the donations that you provide.
Yeah.
Store in the warehouse until somebody can pick out what it is that they want. And so
it's very cool. Pictures, so if you're out there and you have you need to clean out your pictures or bedding that's gently used, anything like that, we can take it. We would love to have it. Yeah, and new is very, very helpful. One thing we always have a lack of is lamps. I find we need lamps a lot. And so anytime you have lamps, anything like that, they're definitely needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, since we're on donations real quick. So
yes.
A lot of times we get offers for clothing donations.
Yes.
And clothing is absolutely, it's a necessity.
Yes.
And a lot of those that we serve don't have more than what's on their back when they come to the shelter or when we first encounter them. So it's something that we do need. However, the way that we provide that is, I think, really unique and special in that it provides the most dignified way to provide that need for somebody. Because what sometimes happens is if there's a clothing closet available at a shelter like ours or something, somebody in need would have to go through that closet and find something that maybe fits, something that maybe is something that they don't hate, right?
Right.
And just because they need
Yes.
the clothing. But we at Path of Life want to do things in a much more dignified way that really helps them feel good about themselves. And though they're not satisfied with their situation, we don't want them to feel like it's a part of their identity.
Right.
Right. So what we do is we ask if you have clothing to donate to those in need, and you'd like to do that through Path of Life, donate those clothes in bags, like grocery bags, those ones that you can't get at the grocery store anymore, but you have stuffed in a drawer somewhere.
Yes.
Stuff those full of the clothes you want to donate. Take those to Goodwill, any Goodwill in the region. Drop those off, and at Goodwill they'll give you a receipt, and that receipt will list how many. You probably have a few with you.
I was just going to say, I just got one today. It's in my bag.
That receipt will say you dropped off 10 bags, that you donated 10 bags of clothing. They'll hand that to you. If you send a copy of that receipt to us, or the original, either way, or drop it off, mail it, however you need to get it to us, we collect all of those receipts and we turn those back into Goodwill Industries. And let's say we have a pile of receipts that equals 100 bags of clothing. For every 2 bags of clothing, we're going to get a $10 voucher. So we're going to get $500 worth of vouchers that we then give to those that we're serving, and they get to go to Goodwill with money, vouchers,
Yes.
And pick out exactly what they want, exactly in the size that's right for them, and feel really good about what they've done, and they've made a purchase rather than being given a handout.
Absolutely. I was just talking with one of the navigators who was sharing that we had turned in a bunch of receipts, and they were able to take a lot of the kids that are in our different programs and let them buy their own Halloween costumes this year. And that was a really cool thing, that they actually got to pick out, whatever they wanted to be for Halloween. So those donations they can be life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal.
And so it's not just about doing the things that we
Right.
do, but the way that we do it
Mhm.
that is important to us at Path of Life Ministries.
Yeah, it's actually the most important thing, and it was so great today being in the open house. I loved it.
Good.
I really loved it today. It was great. I've been to all of obviously the shelters and to the offices, but it was really great today to hear from everybody in the staff and just the love and the commitment and the devotion that everybody here has to our clients. It's so empowering and so inspiring. It really moved me very, very much today. I was just honored to be a part, so proud to be a part of what we do here. I feel like I'm just a little tiny piece, but the hearts that are here, and that's really from your leadership.
Well, thank you.
Really, you've allowed people to, I think, live out what their core purpose is.
That's our
And
goal.
there's something to be said for that. So, and even talking to a lot of our clients, what I hear is they have been approached by other people who have, said, maybe put out a hand to help, but they have failed them, a lot of our guests and our clients. And as a result of that, people they don't trust the system
Right.
anymore. And Path of Life has changed that and I believe 100% it is because of the heart and the soul that is behind every single person, from volunteer to employee. We have the most extraordinary people.
We do.
We seriously
Absolutely
do, and
Absolutely
it's incredible to me. So I want to give a big hats off to you, Damien, for your leadership, because it shows. It shows from you all the way down. And I know that I got to take some friends with me tonight to tour the family shelter, and I saw people being very, very moved. It's an incredible thing that we do here. So I want to say thank you to that. Can you share the one thing that I heard tonight, and it talked about homelessness being not identity.
Okay. So that's one of the things that we say often and remind ourselves and remind all those that we come in contact with, is that we believe that we don't just believe it, we know. We know that homelessness is a situation, not an identity.
Right.
And we can change that situation. We can move somebody from being in a situation of homelessness into a situation of being stably housed.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work, and sometimes there are bumps along the way and things that we don't expect, and it can be challenging, but it's so doable.
Yep.
And we've seen it done over and over and over again, and then we see somebody have the opportunity to begin to change their lives in the way that they want to, and they're no longer homeless.
Right.
They don't have to be homeless ever again.
Isn't that
Right?
the best?
And that's so important. I know that some of the other staff that have talked on Facebook today have touched on this, but that's so important for people to know in our community, because one, we cannot do this work without the social capital and the financial capital
Yes.
that comes from the private private market, right?
Yeah.
Private resources.
Yeah.
Individuals,
Yeah.
businesses, helping us fund what we do. A lot of our funding comes from federal grants, especially from HUD, and those grants are cumbersome, and so
Yes.
they take work to make them work. And also, there's a delay in getting reimbursed.
For
so
sure.
we have to have cash up front to be able to float that money. We have to spend that money months before we get paid for it. And then also, there are a lot of things that those grants don't pay for that are essential for somebody to make what we know can happen, which is moving from a place of homelessness to being stably housed and thriving. And we need private funds to fill in the gaps where
Yes.
those federal funds
Yes.
don't cover those needs. And why was I going there? So we were talking about homelessness being a situation, not an identity.
Not identity.
So we need those private dollars to help make work. What we make work, and we make very, very efficient use of it.
Yes.
And what sometimes helps those private dollars come in is when people understand that the people who they might have a mental stereotype about
Right.
are most likely not who they think they are.
That's exactly right.
Again, we have seen people that have been homeless for as much as 31 years this last year living on the street, including a family. This can blow people away. A family that had a 15-year-old child who they raised living in a park.
Yeah.
Had no hope, no direction. They thought that this is going to be their life. They thought that this was their identity.
Yes.
We are the homeless people.
Right.
Right? Until they were given an opportunity, and a clear opportunity to live a different life.
Yeah.
That was real. That was real. It wasn't something that once they said yes, we had to figure out how to provide for them.
Right.
We already knew we could provide the housing, and that's what your private dollars do. It allows us to be able to say, as soon as you're ready, we're ready, and to move on that. And when that opportunity and the support that's needed to then take the steps forward are provided, transformation happens.
Absolutely.
So this is a story that we love to tell, and I'll tell two. Story of Nacho, who he was over 20 years living literally in a ditch, and he would chase our outreach workers
away.
Nick and Victor. He would literally chase them away, but they never gave up on him. They kept checking in on him and said, how are you today, Nacho? Is there anything that we can get? And over time, trust built between Nick and Victor and Nacho. And he began to open up about his situation. They learned about what's going on, and they got to the point where they were able to say, ask Nacho, would it be helpful for you to have a cell phone? Because there are these lifeline cell phones, limited number of minutes, and just a very basic phone, but they can be absolute lifeline for somebody in that sort of situation. He said, that would really help me. I would love a cell phone. It would increase my sense of safety, et cetera, et cetera. And so they said, well, in order to get that cell phone, there's just a few things that we need to do. Now, trust had been built up. This was Nacho that would chase them away. They said that they didn't want housing. They said he didn't want housing. But they got a few items in place, some paperwork and whatnot, for him to get the cell phone. He saw that it worked. He saw that he could trust Path of Life and Victor and Nick.
Yes.
And today he's housed, and he's been housed for almost a year.
Right.
And he is now being a peer support for other people in his same situation. And at one point, they went in to check in on him. He had stocked his cupboards full of things in a 99-cent store, what he could afford. He repaired furniture that we gotten donated to him. His place is immaculate. And when he opened the door and he saw Victor there, he broke down in tears. He had to run to his room. He said, "Hold on, I'll be right back." He brought out this beautiful letter, which he keeps sending us, multiple page letters that we get in the mail from Nacho. But this letter in particular was to Path of Life, to Nick and to Victor, specifically saying thank you for not giving up on me. And then the other half of the letter was to people in his same situation saying, your life can change. And when he handed it to Victor, he said, I just didn't realize what being out there was doing to my soul. Mm-hmm. So that's the stories that we see every day. They think that their identity is the situation that they're in until they're seeing that they can be somebody different that's locked deep inside of them. And so just like you said, we want to help our team and volunteers and all those that partner with us live out their core. That's what we want for those that we serve as well.
Yeah, that is so incredible. I love that story, and I have the letter because you gave me a copy of it.
That's right.
So I keep it close because it's a helpful reminder, and a continual inspiration and encouragement to me to remember why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. We really are in the business of changing lives, and that does have everything to do with the people that work here and that volunteer here.
It's
so an incredible team, just incredible heart. And
I know our time is wrapping up here, but we count you as part of that team as well.
Yes.
If you're a volunteer, if you're a partner with us in any way, whether it be financial or in kind, you help transform thousands of lives.
Yes.
Every year.
Yes.
And we absolutely can't do it without you.
Yeah.
We are looking right now. Because essentially we've proven the concept of housing first and how it works, and combining our housing, behavioral health, and employment programs as well as the added component that we're working on right now, which is the relational wraparound support to help people have community and learn from others about how to live life outside of homelessness.
Yes.
And outside of the mindset of survival. And so those components, those 4 components together, they work.
They do.
They transform life.
Guaranteed.
We don't, it's not a question of if.
Nope. Proven.
It's not a question of how to do it. We know how to do it. We simply need to scale it, right?
That's right. That's right.
We need to do more of what we're currently doing, and not because we want to be a bigger organization,
No.
but there are more people that still need the help.
That's right.
And what I'm really excited about right now is we have functional zero, this whole concept of functional zero homelessness in our city, in our county, in our sites. It's on the radar, and I know that we can get there if we, and it boils down to raise enough support,
That's
in
right.
kind and volunteers and financial support.
Yep.
To be able to leverage additional federal dollars and to be able to get people into housing and pay for that housing.
Right.
We're
Damien,
going
can
to be
you-
unveiling a plan to do
Yeah.
that. Actually, some of the board members are not allowing me to unveil yet,
No.
but it's simply a matter of scaling what we have. And so functional
Yeah.
zero for our county, we're looking around the last point in time count around 2,100 people that were counted as being homeless in our county. We know the number's larger than that, but to use a point in time count, which is a 1-day count of every homeless individual throughout the county that we could possibly encounter.
Right.
List of tons of volunteers, but that's happening again in January. So 2,100 people throughout our county, about 428 people in the city of Riverside. We can house that many people.
Right.
And we can keep that many people
Yes.
housed. It's
Can you
absolutely
describe
doable.
the three you identified 3 ways of functional zero homelessness, and you had homelessness as being
Oh, yes. So
'Cause this is good.
homelessness being rare, brief when it does happen, and non-reoccurring in somebody's life.
so powerful. Those 3 words, I think about them all the time. So I think that it's rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. That's what functional homelessness means, right?
Yeah, so that's what the environment, that's what our community will look like
Right.
once we reach functional zero.
Right.
And to reach functional zero, we need to help every person that wants to get out of a homeless situation,
Right.
get into housing.
Yep.
And be able to place as many people that become homeless into housing within a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And we can do it.
We can absolutely do it. It's an exciting thing to think about. Imagine if our city was that
Yeah.
functional zero. That's very, very exciting to me.
And talking about our community, so the county of Riverside, and this is just so we're not just dreaming here.
No.
We've actually again proven the concept.
Absolutely.
But then also
It's
the
totally
county of
doable.
Riverside, because of the network of community providers, so Path of Life being one of those, working with behavioral health, the VA, City of Riverside, Sheriff's Department, we actually have become the first large county in the nation to end homelessness among veterans who were homeless. We've
Boom.
reached functional zero in the
That
county
is
of Riverside.
amazing.
Which doesn't mean that there's no veteran that's homeless.
No.
But we can place every veteran that becomes homeless and that wants to move out of that situation into housing.
It's so important. And I know
Yeah.
everybody can get behind that.
Yep,
You have to be out of your mind if you can't get behind that.
absolutely. So,
It's exciting.
so
Yeah.
well, thank you for joining me.
It was my
and
pleasure. Are
having
you
a
kidding?
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do and for leading the charge and for like blazing the trail. That's what you've been doing and burning it.
We can't do it alone.
No,
We're
we
happy
need
to have
everybody. We need your help.
you and all of our partners that we work
Yes,
with
yes.
to make this possible. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Deuces.
Thank you.